How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Great. This is kind of a quirky schedule this year, obviously, with the cut day moved back. What does it mean to get off and maybe take a breath before the grind starts?
Yeah, that's exactly what it'll be. It'll be a deep breath. It's the calm before the storm. It's been nice the last few days to get some work in, to iron a few things out, to start, introducing some stuff and thinking about some wrinkles. But take a deep breath, because I think all of us in this profession, you guys included, kind of know what's coming, and the stresses that come with it, and the, I guess, deadlines for you, and all the different things for us, and having to go out there and perform and just grind for the next 4 or 5 months. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll just be trying to get some good family time in, and with the understanding in the back of my mind that things are about to start and we're not going to look back.
When the lights go on, don't you worry about that.
Good.
But bigger picture question for you. I know kind of in your role, you're trying to get to know everybody on the team, all that. For a lot of guys, that means going places or having over for dinners or things. You just, with the weirdness of the year, how have you been able to accomplish that, and what kinds of things do you do to make sure you've got good relationships with these guys?
Yeah, I mean, things were so much different last year. I mean, it was, not seeing anybody ever, and not really in the building that much, and basically just hoping that the season was going to happen. And for me last year, it was we practiced together, and that was basically it. That was the only time we ever saw anybody. So this year, the off season was nice. We got to at least meet and talk and have those initial discussions, and now just being able to meet in person, being able to have some of that locker room time, that stuff. Still, we're being extra careful. You're being vigilant about what you're doing and the protocols and all that, but there is a little bit more opportunity for that this year, and being on a new team, that's helpful for me.
Got a beard question for you.
Yeah.
So there have been a couple of times in your career where you've just it was long and then you decided to change it up mid-season. How much of that is to get out of a funk, or to, how sometimes pitchers change their socks or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, there's always a different reason, whether it's a funk or, bubble gum, or can't get whatever stench it is out of there. But I just saw the picture of Dustin Johnson today. I saw the picture of Travis Kelce. I don't think I can ever shave again. I don't think it can ever come off, because they just look like different human beings.
Do you remember the last time you did shave? How long has...
Yeah, I mean, I think at some point in Miami I did cut it down, but it's been a while.
You've talked about this before, but the appeal of coming in and knowing you're a starter, did that change anything for you in the off season? Does that create any more of a comfort for you as you're learning this new system?
No, not really. I mean, just the competitive nature of the position, but really just competitiveness for, athletes in general, coming in and having to earn it, and having to go out there and do it every single day. I think that's really important. And I think that's what has been created here in all the different position groups. But now, as we get going into the season, and having those defined roles, and being able to really take all the reps and work on all the little nuances with different guys, that's when everything really gets heightened and becomes a big deal. So it's nice, to know and to have that, and to have those extra reps with those guys, and we'll continue as we go forward.
You've mentioned this before to us, and I think you talked to Silver about it too, about the physical part of throwing. You said it's easier for you. What do you mean by that? Did something change mechanically in the way you've thrown the ball?
Yeah, definitely. I've had just different things that I've toyed around with, and so I've become a more accurate passer. It's still if you look at me throw versus some of these other guys, I don't think you would ever describe me throwing the football as effortless. It's, it looks like it takes every fiber in my body to be able to throw the ball 5 yards, but it's just the way that I do it. I've been able to hone in on things that make me really accurate, and then maybe some things where I'm not as accurate, and try to stay away from those, and really, highlight the different techniques and footworks and things that when I'm my most accurate, those are the things that are more consistent. And so a lot of it has just been, I guess, self-discovery and doing it and figuring out and finding out what works for me.
To follow up on that, you've cut your interceptions down over the last however many years and all that. How much does that play into that, or is there something else that has helped in that area?
Yeah, I mean, part of that, I think early in my career, some of it was not really understanding that throws couldn't be worth 14 points. You're just going out there when you're behind and trying to force everything in there. So some of that has come with age and experience. But I'm gonna push the ball down the field. I'm gonna take chances. I'm gonna give my guys opportunities. So some of that stuff will continue to happen. You just try to limit it, and I try to make educated decisions sometimes when it's not necessarily a 50-50 ball. Maybe it's a 70-30 ball. And you just make those educated decisions and go from there. And part of it's through film study. Part of it is through who we have on our team, and part of it is what's going on in a given game.
They will sometimes bring up the term game manager, and in essence, every quarterback to a degree is a game manager. But to you, what does that mean? And would you describe yourself that way? How would you describe yourself?
Well, I think every quarterback has to be. I mean, part of that is getting all 11 guys on the same page. Part of that is knowing the situations of the game, whether it's a 2-minute drive, whether it's a 4-minute at the end of the game. When the clock's running down, you've got to maybe get guys in the final formation and scrub the motion and get the snap count correct so you can get the play off. There's a lot of different things. You're on the edge of field goal range and you're not taking sacks. Those type of things that you hear all the time on the broadcast, those are really important pieces of playing the quarterback position. So to me, managing a game and making the right decisions, it doesn't necessarily mean just dinking and dunking and throwing short passes. It means making good decisions that pertain to the certain particular situation that you're in during a game.
For the past maybe 10 days or so, there's been like the tiniest little drama about Ron not publicly naming you a starter, and he did so a couple days ago. Did you ever feel like you needed that confirmation, or has this always felt like your job?
No, I never really needed the public confirmation.
And if you have a productive year this year and play enough games, there are some guys, you can pass Joe Montana, Boomer Esiason, Johnny Unitas on passing yards list. Is that ever cross your mind that a seventh rounder who's had to work his way all over the place can now put his name up there with some pretty big historic players?
I think part of it just means that I've played for a while, but a lot of that stuff I'll look at when my career's over with. I'm definitely proud of my career. I'm proud of all the different places I've been and the obstacles I've faced and everything that I've overcome. And that being said, all that has led me to here. It's led me to this opportunity. And I've said it to you guys a lot, but I see this as a great opportunity for me. One that maybe I haven't even had an opportunity like this in my career, and I'm looking forward to doing everything I can to take advantage of it. Both are very smart. They work hard. A receiver, believe it or not, is a very difficult position to play when you're young. Very difficult, whether it's alignments, whether it's splits. It's earning the trust of the quarterback, being in the right spot at the right time, being able to adjust your routes based on what the defense is doing, being able to get off press coverage. There's just a lot of nuances that when you get to the NFL didn't really exist in college. And so those two have been very sharp. I think that's a lot of it. And obviously they're talented. They're both here in the NFL, but not a whole lot of mental mistakes for either of them. And for Diami in particular, just such a quiet confidence about him, and you could just tell that he's a playmaker. He likes being out there making big plays. Yeah, it's funny because when you have a day like cut day where it's guys are in and it's kind of a weird day. You're quiet. You're kind of seeing who's here and who's not, and maybe that's the one day where you talk amongst teammates with decisions that were made and everything else. But this season is so hectic and this game is so difficult that it really is like one day, and then you move on, and like what we have in that locker room, that's who we are, and we have to not worry about some of the other stuff that is out of our control and just focus on who's in that locker room and what we're going to do with it. So, there may be a day on cut day or after where you at least talk about it or think about it, but once that season starts and once that day is over, it's really not even mentioned again because there's so much that you have to figure out and focus on for yourself and for the rest of the team.
I wonder for you, how many evolutions have your mechanics gone through or major changes throughout your career? What's that process been like?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing initially was probably tidying up the footwork a little bit. I mean, the biggest thing going back to college was a lot of elbow pain and how I could get rid of that, and changing a little bit of my mechanics. Then in the NFL, it was more footwork, and then hopping around and being in different spots. Everybody has different things that they're harping on. So really just getting a lot of different opinions on what people thought and then honing that into what was going to work best for me. And then, the throwing stuff just over time, certain throws, how do I get my body in a position where I can be more accurate on those throws. So there's been probably 2 or 3 big transitions in my career that have helped me along the way.
And people sometimes talk about, I think, getting the ball to playmakers in space, maybe a little bit shorter throws than they used to be. I wonder if you've seen that shift throughout your career and kind of what that's been like for you to implement or it's not.
Yeah, I mean, every team is different, every system's different, but I think maybe not necessarily, shorter throws and getting into your playmakers in space, but getting the ball to your playmakers. I mean, scheming it up so those guys you want to throw it to those guys. You want, the guys that are in the huddle that are going to be the downfield threats and can break the tackles and do whatever else. How many times can we get the ball in their hands? And sometimes it's deep, sometimes it's short, but I think the focus for every team is who are our core guys and how do we get them the ball, but maybe not necessarily just, in short spaces.
Speaking of the playmakers, Curtis Samuel hasn't practiced. Ron's optimistic about next week. How much of an impact does it make for you with a new player like Curtis that you haven't been able to kind of work together yet?
For me, probably less of an impact for me than maybe a younger guy, just because I've had to throw to so many different guys, and I've had to quickly figure out what all these guys are like. So, Curtis is a guy, I've watched a lot of film on him. I've seen him play plenty, and I'm excited for him to get out there and throw to him, but I don't think it'll take much time at all.
One other one, you talked a little earlier about the opportunity you feel like you have here. I was listening to an NFL Network interview where they said Scott Turner's the perfect offensive coordinator for Ryan Fitzpatrick. How much does Scott's play calling and maybe this system feed into your belief about the opportunity here?
That relationship is so important, the offense coordinator and the quarterback, and it's stuff that we've talked about at length in here about just me being able to anticipate what he's calling and why he's calling it, and him being able to anticipate what I want called in certain situations. And that's stuff that's going to come with time. But it's an important relationship because I rely heavily on him, just like he relies heavily on me to make the right decisions, to get us in the right stuff, to put the ball in the right place. So that's an important relationship, and one that just continues to get better and better as we go.
Hey, Ryan, last year you had obviously no preseason games, a lot of practice. Oh, sorry. A lot of practice, and then you go right into the season opener. This year you had the 6 Series 2 games, and now you'll have 3 weeks off between playing games before the opener. Do you think did it make a difference to you last year in terms of how you felt approaching the season, having preseason games, not having preseason games? Does it take you a little while to maybe get a little, rhythm in your arm in a game setting versus just practice?
I think, last year we kind of had the ramp-up period as well, where everybody showed up. We had our workouts. We kind of were able to get in shape as we were going, where this year we had the off-season stuff, and then when training camp started. We were expected to be in shape, arm in shape, ready to go. So last year, that ramp-up period was actually, I think it was nice and appreciated by a lot of the older guys. For me, the biggest difference is this is a new system for me. Last year, even though we had a new offensive coordinator, it was a guy that I'd worked with a lot in the past. So with it being a new system, I think all of that was really important for me. It was important to have the OTAs. It was important to be able to get the reps that we got in training camp. So I really was happy that all of that came back this year. And I think the biggest reason was because I was brand new in this offense, and swimming, trying to call plays and everything else, and knowing what was expected, and it's really helped me in my transition. All right, thank you.